Private,
Yes, sir.
hold down your trigger.
Yes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are so back. Ooh, that's some good Battlefield. Kids, Battlefield 6 is here, and it has brought back the franchise that I love. And yeah, Battlefield 6 is pretty freaking great. This game is phenomenal, front to back, from gameplay to flow to the way the guns handle to the graphics, sound design, the sense of scale. It's all there. It's all there, and this truly feels like a Battlefield game. And just speaking for myself, all art is subjective, including video games as well. But for me, Battlefield has not felt this good since Battlefield 1, the game based on World War I, and that game was released in 2016. And so now, coming up to Battlefield 6, released in 2025, for me, the franchise has not felt this good in almost a literal full decade. And it was absolutely worth the wait. And, look, I've been playing Battlefield since, probably the Battlefield 2 days back on the original Xbox, but really where I got my feet wet into the franchise was Battlefield 3 on the 360. I played Battlefield 4 a little bit, but then where I really got into the meat, like down into the bone marrow of the franchise, was Battlefield 1, like I mentioned, in 2016. That game is phenomenal. I think it's one of the best shooters ever released. I think that the way that they portray and respect history in that game is phenomenal. It's a very tough act to follow, hence why we get Battlefield 5, which adapts World War II as its setting. And I do not think it lived up to the hype that Battlefield 1 set. Again, a very tough act to follow, but from its portrayal of history to its gameplay to its flow, I think Battlefield 5 took a bunch of missteps. It's not a bad game. I really enjoyed that game. I had a good time with it. I look back on it fondly, but just, if Battlefield 1 is a 10, Battlefield 5 might have been more like an 8, like a 7.5, in my perspective. Then 2042 comes out, which wants to completely flip the script as it wants to chase modern trends in gaming, and it completely removes the identity of Battlefield, in my opinion. So much so that I completely skipped the game because I heard this is not a Battlefield game. This is something else entirely. It might look like Battlefield. It might have Battlefield on the box, but it doesn't play like one. And from the people that I know who have played 2042, they said, "You're right. This isn't it. There's fun to be had, but it's not a Battlefield game." They removed the class system. The flow feels different. The guns don't have a lot of ammo. The maps are too huge to where you can't get this sense of personalized combat. It just got too much for the fan base. And so you kind of have this trend of Battlefield games kind of going down since 2016. Again, you go from 1 to 5 to 2042. And we've pretty much never been lower, in my opinion, when it comes to the franchise as a whole. Here comes Battlefield 6, promising to retake the mantle, to bring the franchise back to its former self, to really honor the roots, and to cement itself as a great shooter, that's going to set trends, not just chase existing ones. And Battlefield 6 does that. It does, however, absolutely, dip its toes into other pools that already exist. You look at like the Battle Royale craze going on. The cream of the crop for that one is Fortnite. That will never be topped. They captured that subsection of games by storm. You dropped into a map with however many opponents. last person standing wins. You have to scavenge and survive for armor loots. You know how the game is played, literally. So Battle Royale gets, it jumps off the screen with Fortnite. Every other gaming franchise has tried to chase it to some various degrees of success. You have Apex Legends, PUBG, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. Then you have Call of Duty that comes out with their version called Warzone, which actually is also quite successful as well. However, for myself, for someone who does enjoy Call of Duty, Warzone got to be too much for me. It got to be too in your face, too fast, all the time type stuff. And also, like, not for nothing, I'm in my mid-20s. I understand that I'm not in my prime anymore when it comes to gaming. I understand I have to play things a little slower. Can I still hang? Absolutely. I mean, come on. But yeah, look, Call of Duty got to be too much for me. It got to be too fast, and Warzone is a reflection of that. I feel that Battle Royale mode is too fast to really dive in, at least for myself. Hence why I found myself getting more frustrated with that game as opposed to enjoying it. And then Battlefield 6 also, or Battlefield just as a whole, wants to chase that trend as well. They implemented a Battle Royale mode in Battlefield 5, which I never played, but I heard was okay. I don't know if that mode ever came back for 2042, because again, I never played 2042. And then it comes back again in Battlefield 6, and it has some weird title attached to it called, like, RedSec or ResDec, something like that. Just call it the Battle Royale mode. It's some weird acronym, I think. But anyway, Battlefield 6 has its own Battle Royale mode, and I'll say this, for what it's worth, that game mode is a lot of fun. I think that they took the strengths of Warzone and they simply slowed it down. And that's the best compliment I could give to Battlefield 6's Battle Royale mode, is that it feels like Warzone from Call of Duty just slowed down, which for me, as I just said, I'm now on my decline when it comes to gaming. This is right up my alley. And Battlefield 6 as a whole, I think, also feels slower when compared to other shooters. There's absolutely points where it can feel really fast. I think that the time to kill and the respawn rate for Battlefield has never been faster. And I think that's kind of looking at Call of Duty as well, recognizing that people want that pure adrenaline and dopamine dump over and over again. Whereas when you get into Call of Duty, you spawn in, you get a few guys, maybe you die, and then you're instantly back into the battle. There's no sense of prolonged engagements. Halo, of course, is perhaps the slowest of the shooters, and that's not a knock against that, just saying that the game flow lends itself to being much more tactile. You have to think a lot more about positioning, what weapons you have, equipment, so on and so forth. Whereas Call of Duty is just get in there, get out, have a good time. You're going to repeat this every 10 seconds for the next 30 minutes. Battlefield 6, I think, has somehow made a bridge between those two different quadrants to where it can feel fast like Call of Duty, and then it can feel slow like Halo. For me, it's more slow like Halo. I think, 6, 7 out of 10 times it feels slower, but there are points to where Battlefield 6 can feel fast, and with that sense of speed comes a bit of frustration as well, because again, you have people who can seemingly fly over the map and you're getting shot from places you can't identify and so on and so forth. But again, it's few and far between for Battlefield 6. I think that when you pick up a Call of Duty game, you know what you're getting. You're just getting that sugar rush nonstop. When you pick up a Halo game, I think you know what you're getting. You're getting more of a glass of wine type approach to it. With Battlefield 6, we didn't really know what we were getting, because again, 2042 completely flipped the script, and now here comes Battlefield 6, which promises to be one thing, but who knows. But I'll just say, from having played it for the several hours that I've had it, I really, really enjoy the game. I think it truly does feel like a shooter for everyone. I think it feels like a game for everyone. I think that if you're kind of bored with first-person shooters, I think you should give this one a shot. I really, really enjoy it. From the large, overwhelming, battle modes such as Conquest, which deal with tanks and jets and infantry and so on and so forth, to the much more intimate, team deathmatch, squad deathmatch, King of the Hill, so on and so forth. Like, Battlefield 6 casts a wide net, yet it never feels like it's like getting lost in itself. Battlefield 6 is not a mile wide and an inch deep. In my opinion, it's a mile wide and a mile deep. I think that they really cover all their bases quite well. I think as a well-rounded gaming package, I think this game is just awesome. And from a technical side as well, I've had very few issues. I play on an Xbox Series X. I I've experienced very little lag. I've never crashed. I've never like just been booted from a game before for whatever reason. The queue times are great. People seem to be really enjoying this, and that's the thing too is that I can get the sense that Battlefield 6 is kind of transcending the typical game environments because I've had people in my real life, like at like my job or just wherever, talk to me about Battlefield 6. I know people who aren't big gamers who are asking about Battlefield 6. What's it like? How do I get it? Where do I start? So on and so forth. Like it's kind of a blockbuster game, I'm not gonna lie. And that's again in a world where we have Fortnite, Apex, Call of Duty, Halo, you name it. Battlefield 6 seemingly has just brought this sense of fresh air to the gaming community, both in terms of shooter games and war games and just having a fun overall community experience. And man, I love it. I think they're really nailing it. Of course, there are nitpicks. Like I said, it can feel kind of Call of Duty esque. It can be a little fast, but just overall, I'd recommend this game. I think that it's a complete full package. I think it just plays really well. And at the end of the day, I have found Battlefield 6 to be more fun than anything else. More fun than it's frustrating, more fun than it's puzzling. I really enjoy it. And even so, like they have a campaign mode, which 2042 did not have at all. And I'm someone who really enjoys my campaign modes in my war games because I want to feel like I'm playing a war movie. And I'll be honest, I've only played two missions so far because I like to kind of drip feed that campaign for myself because it's not very long. The Battlefield 6 one's not very long. I'll be honest, first mission, did not love it. And I was kind of like, I don't know, what is this going to be? Is this going to be kind of a half-baked thing? Then mission 2 starts, they have a cool cinematic intro, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'm locked in. And so whether you're a fan of nonstop action via multiplayer, you want battle royale, fight to survive, or even want something much more, story driven, such as their campaign mode. I think that Battlefield 6 is a complete and total package, and I'm so happy that it came out the way it did, that people are embracing it, that it's fun, and that people are talking about it. Like it just feels really good to have a really fun game to play again with the fellas. And so yeah, just if you haven't played it, give it a shot. I'm sure at some point it'll go on sale as the Christmas season roll around. And then if you have it, let's squad up at some point. But yeah, Battlefield 6 is a lot of fun, and it just feels really good to have a good Battlefield game back in the rotation. Oh, all right, kids. Let's keep with video games for a bit longer here. The next thing I want to talk about is Helldivers 2, which, as you know, is a game I really enjoy if you have listened to the podcast recently. And if you have not listened recently, I really enjoy Helldivers 2. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's a great, easy shooter to get into. I think it's very inspired by movies like Starship Troopers, which are a great, fun sci-fi romp, and that just takes that kind of fun, comic, pulpy adventure that we get in filmmaking and just brings it to a video game environment. And I think it makes for a lot of fun. It's really just more or less a shooting gallery with you being a space marine fighting off robots and bugs and alien zombies and so on and so forth. And it's great. It's easy to pick up, and it's a lot of fun. And what's interesting about this game is that the community as a whole. So every player, whether you're on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, doesn't matter, we're all pushing towards one big main objective. That is to liberate the surrounding planets that encompass Super Earth and all her colonies, and then we're trying to push back the various invading forces and take over the planets and spread democracy and liberate the oppressed people and whatever it is that we do in Helldivers. Well, anyway, we've been doing that. We recently captured a planet. We liberated a planet that is known as Oshan, I believe is how you pronounce it. And this part of the game sucked. I did not like this. I found this part to be frustrating. Helldivers 2 has existed for some time now. I've gotten into the game kind of on its second wind, so to speak. Previously, a big frontier that the community faced before my time was a planet or a portion that we had to control called Mavellon Creek. Mavellon Creek, I believe is how it's pronounced. Anyway, Mavellon Creek was this planet that was controlled by the robot faction that we had to take over, and it was this big push and pull. And essentially, reading up on the history of the game, I've read that this frontier, this campaign for the game was described as Space Vietnam. You're just fighting robots in a jungle. You can't see them. You're low on ammo. There's not a lot of supplies. You fight for days to get an inch type stuff. It was just this awful thing. Well, anyway, whereas Mavellon Creek is known as Space Vietnam, capturing the planet Oshane, according to the community, was known as Space Iraq. And that's because this is a very unforgiving desert planet where the bugs have taken over. It's one of their primary planets. And they tore us to bits. And I fought for this planet several times, and I got my butt handed to me every time. And it was not fun. I actually, when the major orders would go out to contest this planet, to push deeper into our territory with it, I was not always enthused to go do that. I was like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me, But it was still fun. It's just it was like pushing a rock uphill. Well, anyway, we as a community have captured the planet. We've liberated it. We're now mining its minerals for the greater army and for Super Earth and all that stuff. So round of applause to all my fellow Helldivers. Well done, taking the planet. Well, now, why stop there? We're going to be pushing even deeper into the bug territory, into the cloud that they reside in, and we are going to go after a planet soon called Omicron. And I'm not looking forward to that. I'm not looking forward to that at all, because capturing Oshane sucked. It was fun, it was frustrating, it was long, it was dirty, it was confusing. The fact now that we're going to be going even deeper into the bug territory, just being surrounded on all sides, and we're surely going to be attacked from the air too with those freaking flying things, those bug dragon things. If capturing Oshane was like pushing a rock up a hill, I imagine that capturing Omicron is going to be like pushing a rock up a hill that's also on fire. And you're asking, Jim, are you referring to the rock being on fire or the hill being on fire? And to answer your question, yes. So we will see what comes of that. But to all my fellow Helldivers out there who are braving the front lines for Super Earth and her various other colonies and are in pursuit of liberating other planets, to get rid of the robots and the zombies and the aliens and whatnot. Take a breath, take a minute, because this is gonna hurt. I'll be with you. I will do my best not to shoot you in the back or to call in an airstrike on your position. Just rest up for a bit. Rest up, soldier, because it's gonna be rough. Just hydrate. Get chocolate milk, get Mountain Dew. Call the fellas, coordinate attacks. The major order has not begun yet, but I guarantee we're gonna be pushing deeper into that bug territory any day now. And yeah, so it's gonna be a lot. It's gonna be a lot of fun. It's gonna be a lot of not fun too, but we're gonna do it together, and we're in this together as a community. The only good bug is a dead bug. As we say, and yeah, so prepare to drop, get ready to give them Helldiver, and yeah, but oh boy, just when I looked at the map the last time I was in the game, and I saw that we're just going even deeper. I was like, great, but okay, sure. Can we take a minute? No, okay. But yeah, so just get ready for that and have fun, and I will see you down there on the planet Omicron at some point, and yeah, let's go kill them bugs. This next topic, kids, this is a big one, and it's especially big for me because this has to do with Halo. And if you've listened to the podcast before, you know that Halo is my favorite video game franchise ever. What Star Wars is to me for movies, Halo is to me for video games, and so I'm all in on this franchise for everything they've got. Like they just have me by the wallet, and it's been that way for years, and it will be for years to come. And Halo announced a new game coming out, which is a remake of the very first game they ever released. Not a remaster. We've already been there before, but this is a remake. The original Halo game that sparked the entire franchise was called Halo Combat Evolved, released back in 2001. This remake of that game to mark the 25th anniversary of the franchise is called Halo Campaign Evolved, and it brings with it new graphics, a revamped engine, releasing on more platforms. So Halo is no longer just an Xbox exclusive title. It's now going to PlayStation, PC, all that stuff. And I can't believe this. Look, there will be some people who will think, ugh, why are we going back with the Halo universe? Why can't we continue forward? Where's the sequel to Halo Infinite? Where is the next chapter? Where's the next new thing? Why are we retelling old stories? But for me, this is huge because they say so in the trailer for this game. They say that this game has been remade for a whole new generation. You have to think about that. 25 years this franchise has been around. That is a generation. It's an entirely new era of fans. I remember playing the original Halo Combat Evolved on the original Xbox when I was 7 years old. And then my fandom for the franchise really began with Halo Reach in 2010, and it's only, grown since then. But I have memories of my first Halo game. Combat Evolved was my first Halo game. This is now going to be someone's first Halo game. And this is it's everything that's old is new again. They're bringing back the classics. They're retelling the story to make new fans in the same way that I was introduced to the franchise through Combat Evolved. Someone else is going to be reintroduced to the franchise through Campaign Evolved. This is amazing. And then of course you have the nostalgia for the older players like myself who are going to want to go back in and dive into every new detail. And there's a lot of new details, and just to see the updated visuals and to hear the new sound effects and to replay such a fun game with a new coat of paint, it's just going to be a blast. If you liked classic Halo, if you like Combat Evolved, go crazy. And I love Combat Evolved. This game is nuts. It's not my favorite. Halo Reach is my favorite, but this game, the first Halo, the first in the original trilogy, I mean, it's so special for so many reasons, and I love the look of the Master Chief from this game. He only had this armor from one game, the Mark V armor, and then he got upgraded throughout Halo 2 and 3 and so on and so forth. But for me, this look might be my favorite look of the character just in the entirety of the franchise. I'm not sure. Halo 3, he looked really good. Halo Infinite, he looked really good. But man, the Combat Evolved armor holds so much, it holds such a special place in my heart. And I am I'm freaking out about this. Like, it's just like they're bringing back the classics. It's like the return of Star Wars. That's like, come on, man. Like, how can you not be excited by this? But what's crazy though is that this is not just the same game with a new coat of paint. There's new additions in many different ways. There's going to be new voice lines, new audio, surely new pieces of music, the whole deal. But then in terms of actual stuff you can like interact with, there's going to be new skulls. So like, when you play the game, you can have the skulls, which are like bonus features where you can have like infinite ammo, increased health, so on and so forth. You throw more grenades, the enemies throw more grenades, and all that jazz. There's going to be new ways to play the game as well. But what really is amazing about this is that for the combat evolved or campaign evolved, you know, uh, offering that this is going to provide for us, we're going to be able to interact with new elements in the game, and so now we're going to have new vehicles to operate. So like the Wraith, the alien tank that was in Combat Evolved, you could not drive that in the game. Now you can drive that in this one. So that's pretty cool. There's going to be Sprint, which I know people are not a big fan of, but that does increase the movement speed of the game, and so it's going to feel maybe a little more kinetic, perhaps a little more faster. Though Combat Evolved is more kind of a slower experience in my opinion. As I've said, I think that Halo is best suited as kind of a more slow shooter. It's kind of meant more to be a cruise through, not sped through. But you'll be able to turn off sprint in this game. So if you want to play it without sprint and really have a classic down to earth feel like the original game when it came out in 2001, you can do that. I of course will be doing that as well. The HUD is customizable, and so when you come into the game as the player, as the Master Chief, you'll have the radar in one position, the ammo counter in the other, the grenades in another, and your equipment or whatever in another. You have something on each individual screen of your each individual corner of your screen. I mean, excuse me. Well, now in this game you can customize them. So if you want something in the left hand spot, if you want something in the right hand spot, you can change around those assets. That's really cool as well. But like for me, the biggest thing, or one of the biggest things about this remake, this retelling of the story, is that there will be new weapons added to the game. And so, for example, the battle rifle, the classic 3-round burst rifle that we were introduced to in Halo 2, that was not in Combat Evolved. Maybe that gun will now be in this game. In Combat Evolved, you could not wield the energy sword. That was simply a weapon for the aliens, for the Covenant. When you killed an enemy with the sword, it simply just dissolved. We also got to interact with that for the first time in Halo 2. Perhaps that will be a usable weapon in Combat Evolved. Or Campaign Evolved, excuse me. I'm sorry, Freudian slip for the names because they're so similar. But what else is that I've heard that there could be up to nine new weapons added to the game. So what could those be? Could those be weapons from Halo Infinite? Could that be the commando rifle? Could that be the sticky detonator from Halo 4? Or could it be, the mangler from Halo Infinite as well? Because also in Combat Evolved, the original game, there were not brutes in that game. There was just the classic Covenant factions of elites, grunts, jackals, hunters, and I think that's it. No drones. Um, yeah, and you had the flood in there as well. I'm sure the flood will be fun to fight as well. But Halo 2 also introduced us to the brutes, which are the guerrilla type of enemies that we fight in the franchise going forward. Perhaps they will be in the game as well. And if they are, that brings forth their own weapon arsenal. So again, you have the Mangler, the Brute Shot, the Spiker, Spike Grenade, the whole deal. I mean, that right there is huge. But for me, the biggest thing about the reveal of this game is that in addition to the retelling of the original campaign missions from the classic game, there are going to be campaign editions as well. There will be 3 new additional missions for this game. So think of base from 2001, add 3 to it, okay? In what capacity am I referring to this to? Well, the campaign missions have been revealed. The new additional ones have been revealed to be 3 prequel missions. Prequel. Prior to the events of Halo Combat Evolved, we are now going to get 3 missions setting up the original story of the game. Kids, what came before Combat Evolved? Halo Reach came before Combat Evolved. Does that now mean that we're going to get 3 new missions on the planet Reach? Are we going to return to Reach? Kids, are we going back to the planet Reach? Are we going to the setting of my favorite Halo game ever? Are we going to get to see the fall of the planet Reach, not through Noble Team's eyes, but now through the Master Chief's eyes? I like I'm losing my mind. I feel like it's Christmas. I feel like a kid again. Like, I don't know if that's what they're doing. They're keeping details about that very close to the vest. But how far back could you possibly go with the story? Like, it's right there. People love Halo Reach. I love Halo Reach. And Halo Reach bookends perfectly into Halo Combat Evolved, where the last shot of Halo Reach is the opening to Halo Combat Evolved. Like, you could easily tell a few stories just prior to that shot. You know, much like Star Wars, how you have something happening on one side of the planet during one movie or one show, just tell a story about what's happening on the other side of the planet. You know, have these things going in tandem, like have that crossover. Like, so the idea that we're going to return to Reach, which I don't know if they're going to do that, but like, to me, that's the most obvious path forward if you're going to go back and tell, you know, prequels with this stuff. The most obvious path forward is to go back. Yes, I understand. You know, but like, the idea that we could be going back to Reach and seeing Reach in a whole new light with new missions, new additions to the story that further bridge those games together. Wow. I mean, that's what I want. And I have no idea if that's what they're going to do. You know, odds are, I honestly don't know what the odds are. Like, for me, it makes so much sense. Like, but, you know, they could go back even further. They could tell some stories about stuff happening on the Pillar of Autumn prior to it being attacked, you know, what have you. But, I mean, just think about it, kids. Like, could you, you know, because, you know, with Halo Reach, you know, you play as Noble Team, you know, and you're Noble 6, and the final mission or the final missions in that game have to do with you delivering Cortana to the Pillar of Autumn to spark the original Halo game. I mean, could you imagine you're playing as the Master Chief on Halo Reach, you're doing one of the missions, and your objective is to get to the Pillar of Autumn. Like, you now have to get there to make sure you can get aboard to start Halo. And, like, can you imagine you hear over your radio, and it's like, Chief, you know, make your way to the Autumn. Noble Team will meet you there with the package. Like, oh, baby. Like, could you imagine? Could you imagine? I could. I think it sounds great. Halo Studios, Xbox, if you're listening, and I know that you are, make it for me, please. I want it now. And, oh, baby, could you imagine going back to Halo Reach? I am so excited for this, and this game is not that far away. It comes out November 2026 to mark the 25th anniversary of the franchise again, because the original game launched in November 2001. So, I mean, they're going right down to the minute here with the 25th anniversary. Like, oh my gosh, I can't wait. I'm so happy. And like, this game just looks incredible. It's going to be so much fun. And there's split screen campaign, and there's 4-player co-op. And now the Warthog, which is primarily a 3-person vehicle, can now sit 4 people, because you're going to have the ability to do 4-player co-op campaign over Xbox Live. You know, 4-player online, 2-player native split screen. But like, now when you connect with 4 people, you know, when you connect with 3 to make 4, the Warthog will now have an extra seat, so all of you can hop in and ride around and blast aliens and, you know, do the missions. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, everything I'm hearing about this game sounds amazing. Like everything they've said about it, I'm like, what's not to like? And again, I get it. People want to go forward, not back, but like it's it looks so good. It's gonna be so fun. Like, how can it not succeed? Like, it's gonna make new Halo fans. It's gonna retell a great story. There's gonna be new additions for old fans like me, and it's gonna spark interest in the franchise again. It's gonna come to PlayStation, so we're gonna get a whole new bevy of fans. And then when the new Halo game comes out, whether that's the sequel going forward or like another remake or a new multiplayer game, like because this one's just campaign only, they could do a multiplayer only game, which I think is coming. Like there's like, oh man, I'm just so happy that Halo is like up and at 'em and like is running and like, oh man, I know that this was kind of a ramble, but like for me, I'm honestly a little emotional about this. Not like I'm getting like teary eyed, but like I feel like a kid again. Like I remember when Halo Reach was coming out and when 4 was coming out, 5 was coming out, Infinite was coming out. And I've been excited for all those games and just to have that excitement again of a new Halo game coming. Like man, it's just fun doesn't die. It just ages. Like I'll say that again. Fun does not die. It just ages. And like man, I'm so excited. I'm so excited to get back to the franchise that I love, and I'm so excited for new fans to be made as well. And just like I really hope that someday I can meet a Halo fan and I'm like, hey, how'd you get into the series? Like, what was your first game? And if they say, campaign evolved, like, man, just that's just gonna blow my mind. So yeah, sky's the limit with Halo, baby. Like, they're doing this remake, and then I know that other games are in development as well. I've heard rumors that there are 3 total. So there's 2 now that we don't know what they are. I think the 3 are a campaign only game, which has been confirmed, which is, campaign evolved. I think the other game that they're working on is a multiplayer only portion, to satisfy that portion of the fan base as well. And then I think the third game could either be a follow up to Halo Infinite, so the next story going forward, or it could be another spin-off game a la Halo 3 ODST. But like, more Halo's coming, baby. More Halo is coming, and it starts in 2026 with Campaign Evolved, and I'm so excited, and I hope you are too. And yeah, let's go. Fight the Covenant, fight the Flood, save humanity, and work alongside Cortana together. Like, let's go, baby. Like, let's go. Halo's coming back. Okay, kids, for this segment of the podcast here, I'm doing a full impromptu recording. I know that the entirety of this podcast is me just rambling incoherently about things that I like, but I'm going deep into the ramble for this portion here because I just got done seeing Predator Badlands, and at the time of this recording, it is now November 6th, just past 10 p.m., so I drove straight from the theater and went straight to the mic here because I got to get my immediate thoughts about the movie. I'm sure at some point I'll share some thoughts that are a little more refined and probably a little more concise to kind of go into the movie, in proper chunks and in beats. But for right now, this is me just getting my emotions out about the movie. Okay, to give a bit of context here, if you listen to a previous episode of the podcast, I believe it was the 7-hour episode, somewhere in there, buried in all that juicy content for the Far Out podcast, I talked briefly about Predator Badlands and how I was not looking forward to this movie. In fact, I was more excited for what would come after Badlands as opposed to this individual movie. The reason why, because in the Predator Badlands trailers, we see that there is technology that exists in this movie that has existed in Alien movies. And as we know, the Alien franchise is on the up and up with movies such as Alien Romulus and now a TV show called Alien Earth, which I have not seen, but I hear is amazing. But anyway, the Alien franchise has existed for decades and is coming back. Likewise, the Predator franchise has existed for decades and is coming back as well. both with a streaming movie titled Prey, which is on Hulu, which is amazing, and now another proper entry in the franchise brought to the theaters, known as Predator Badlands. Okay, but as these respective franchises are coming back to life, they're seemingly crossing streams once again, because as you know, back in the early 2000s, we had a movie called Alien vs. Predator, which did cross the franchises over. Those movies were not as good, as we wanted them to be. Again, it very much like Batman versus Superman, where, look, if you love that movie, that's great, but if you announce a movie titled Batman versus Superman, there's huge expectations for that. That is a huge mountain to climb. That movie did not do it for their respective characters. I don't think Alien vs. Predator did that for its respective characters, both in its original movie and in its sequel. Okay. But now here comes, again, the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise, and they're beginning to cross streams because the technology used in the Alien franchise is meshing into the Predator franchise. Again, with this movie and Predator Badlands, there are androids, synthetic organisms from the Alien universe. That's how they're crossing the streams, which again sets the foundation for an eventual rematch of Alien versus Predator. Okay, that's what I was looking forward to. I saw Alien Romulus and I loved it, except for the very end of that movie, but I digress. And I liked Prey from Hulu. Again, I thought that movie was great, kind of reinvented the Predator, but I thought, you know what? I've had my fill of the Predator. I'm more in on Alien anyway, but what I'm really in for is Alien versus Predator. Let me know when we get there. I was not looking forward to Predator Badlands. In fact, I was, it was dubious. It was dubious if I was going to see the movie at all. But I got off work on Thursday, November 6th, and I thought, you know what? Why not? Why not go see Predator Badlands? Why the heck not? And I went to the theaters, and I thought, how bad could it be? Or how good could it be? Who knows? And I went in with a full tub of popcorn, and I also had a large soda as well, which is something I don't normally get. But shout out to Marcus Theaters for reminding me that I had enough points to get a free soda. That is a testament to how often I go to the movies. I have a rewards program, and I go so often that I was able to get enough points to get free concessions. I did not check my account. The guy behind the register said, oh, by the way, you have enough to redeem for a free soda. Do you want to do that? So shout out to that guy. I wish I knew his name, but his name escapes me. But so I sat down in the theater, popcorn in one hand, soda in the other, and I was like, okay, Predator, let's see what you got. And without hyperbole, I mean this with full sincerity, this is the best movie I've seen all year. I could not believe how much I thoroughly enjoyed Predator Badlands from front to back. This movie rocks. It freaking rocks. And you're going to think that I'm biased, I'm high on my own supply, I am simply riding the wave of excitement having just left the theater, and perhaps that's true to an extent. But I mean this sincerely. In the moment of me talking, having just left the theater, I will confidently say this about the movie. Predator Badlands is the kind of movie that after having seen it, it made me realize how much I enjoy going to the movies. It reminded me of how much I enjoy the art form, and of how much I enjoy good sci-fi, and of how much I enjoy just leaving my home and going out to the theater. In a world where we have streaming and DVDs and on-demand this and on-demand that, I'm someone who really enjoys going to the theater, picking a time, carving out part of my day, and just sitting in that room with other people and just enjoying a movie front and center. For me, going to the theater is like going to a concert. We have iTunes and Spotify and whatever. We have the world of music at our fingertips constantly. We can listen to our favorite songs 100 times, over the course of a day. Yet I will still go to see my favorite bands in concert because there's something magical about seeing your favorite artists live. And for me, it's the same with going to the theater. There is still something about going to the movie theaters to see a movie, even if it's available on streaming or whatnot, or even if I've seen it before. I've gone back to the cinemas to rewatch movies I've already seen just because I want the theater experience. And Predator Badlands gave me the theater experience. And this isn't just one of the better movies I've seen of 2025. Like again, it's the best movie I've seen of this calendar year. And it might even be the best of the Predator franchise. That's up for debate. But I'll tell you this though too. It's one of the better sci-fi movies period I've seen. Again, in a world where we have Star Wars and Star Trek and Dune and Battlestar Galactica and all these great franchises, this movie single-handedly made the whole genre of sci-fi feel fresh. There are things in this movie that I have never seen before, truly never seen before. And I watch movies and TV like it's my second job. Like I've seen it all. Yet this movie says, hold my beer, because I'm going to show you things you've never seen before. And it did, from unique environments to cool engagements to just fun, creative action sequences filled with cool characters. This movie is a buffet of just delicious flavor that you want to dive into. The story's great. As I said, the characters are great. The action is phenomenal. Visually, it's stunning. Absolutely stunning. In a world where this entire movie is centered around aliens, the Predator is an alien and he's fighting other aliens. They make everything feel real. Everything around him looks weird and wants to kill him. But this movie feels tangible to the touch. Like it's crazy. And the humans in this movie, I use air quote humans, the people are androids, yet they feel real. Like this, oh my gosh, this movie freaking rocks. This movie rocks. There are so many things they do right about this. Like it feels so fresh and inviting, and you don't need to be a fan of the Predator franchise or of the Alien franchise to get this movie. This is truly just a movie you could throw on and just appreciate. It's such a fun piece of sci-fi. Like it's so creative and it's filled with so much energy, and you can tell that the people behind the creation of this movie just they care about the art form, from the director to the writer to the casting to the special effects people to the guys setting up the lights. You can just tell that there is pure passion on display, and this movie is filled to the brim with passion. It completely blew my doors off. I couldn't believe it. I want to see it again. In fact, I probably will. Who knows? I'm the kind of guy who has a rewards program to go to the theaters. I see movies multiple times if I like it enough. I saw Dune Part 2 4 times in theaters. Fear me. So Predator Badlands, a movie I was thinking about skipping entirely. It blew me away, so much so that I want to see it again. Look, this movie is phenomenal. For anyone out there who is doubtful of the movie, who is like me or who was like me, who thought, I don't know, this one looks kind of been there, done that, give this movie a shot. And even if you find this podcast episode years later, well after the movie has left theaters, come out on DVD, come out on streaming, and you're always like, I don't know. I don't know. What should I watch today? Watch Predator Badlands. If you happen to find this movie 2, 3, 4, 5 years later, and you're like, this guy's really going off about Predator. I wonder if it's that good. Trust me, this movie is that good. You should watch it. You should watch it. And I hope you get to catch it in the theater. And even if you don't, treat yourself to a fun, just movie night with yourself, with friends. Make popcorn, order out, get some food delivered. Just have a good time. Because this thing is just entertaining from the second it comes on to the second it ends. And yeah, I can't believe it.
in a world where I saw Predator Badlands as a stepping stone to the next movie, I am so happy that I decided to walk down the bridge that is this movie. I can't believe how good this movie is. At some point I will talk more deeply and more precisely about it, but like just for right now, I'm just getting my thoughts out, my immediate thoughts out. And like this is why we go to the movies. For experiences like this. And like that's the best review I can ever give about any movie. Is just not only is it entertaining, but it makes you feel something. And Predator made me feel something. Predator Badlands made me feel something. And I just what a movie. If anyone who worked on this thing is listening, and I know that you are, please reach out and come on the podcast because I would love to just pick your brain about what made you do this, what made you do that, yada yada. Like what went into this, what went into that. Like again, there's so much creativity on display in this movie. Just dripping with flavor, and it's all amazing. So please watch Predator Badlands. You will not regret it, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the podcast.
All right, kids, let's move on to some movie news. The first poster has been released for the sequel to 2025's A Minecraft Movie. And yes, kids, there is a sequel to the Minecraft movie, which is now slated to come out July 23rd, 2027. And this first poster, this first image here, isn't a whole lot of anything. It's more or less just an announcement image, and it just shows two pickaxes over a crafting table, indicating that there is a sequel now coming to the movie. And this should be a surprise to no one. The Minecraft movie was a huge hit, both audience-wise, critic-wise, financially. It made all the money. I mean, it was a blockbuster. It was a genuine blockbuster. And I saw the movie, and I really liked it. I really appreciated it. It was fun and funny and silly. Maybe a little too silly, for my taste, just kind of being an older fan of the series. But hey, look, it was a kids movie at heart, and that's what it delivered on. And for the fun family approach that they provided in this movie, it was a grand slam. Like they really hit it out of the park there. So I'm expecting more of the same when it comes to the sequel. I think that if you enjoyed the first one, you're just going to get more of that formula in the second one. And if you did not care for the first one, well, maybe they'll course correct a little bit, in the second one. Despite me saying I enjoyed how fun and how funny it was, I would have enjoyed a little less silliness, because, Minecraft as a game, it's able to cast this kind of unique net when you're playing. I don't know if any other game can really capture its tone completely, because it can be incredibly simple. You're just building things essentially out of fun Lego blocks, type stuff. You're just exploring in a fun, colorful world. But then, kind of, we've all had those experiences where like the music has really kicked in and it's just you, and there's this really kind of calming nature to playing the game. You're just exploring and finding cool things along the way and learning new things. And it can be a pretty relaxing experience. And so maybe in the second one, they'll capture more of that kind of, nature versus action tone that the game can provide. That's at least how I like to play Minecraft. I like the kind of slower, more atmospheric moments. So we'll see if that comes forth in the second one. But I like the first one, and I think I'll like the second one too. And so we'll have to keep an eye out for Minecraft 2 coming to theaters in 2027. And speaking of sequels, kids, a sequel also coming in 2027. This one surprised me. Whereas the Minecraft sequel did not surprise me. I knew that was coming from a mile away. This one in particular, I did not see coming. And this one genuinely did kind of catch me off guard. There is a sequel in the works for the Simpsons movie. The Simpsons, the popular TV show, yes, they did have a movie, I believe, in 2007. So it's been a long, long time since they were last on the big screen. And now there is a sequel in development, which is also set to come out in 2027, which will be right around the 20-year anniversary of that first film, I believe. And yeah, this is really surprising to me because for a history of the Simpsons, like I'm a huge Simpsons fan. Like I am. Like, everyone has their favorite, animated comedy. People like American Dad, Family Guy, Bob's Burgers. For me, I like The Simpsons. And when the Simpsons movie came out all those years ago in the mid 2000s, the show and the movie were being made, produced, and released simultaneously. And I remember in the aftermath, despite them both being very, very successful, the creators and the animators of the show, they said that doing both projects at the same time was too taxing. It was too laborious to take on from one production, studio standpoint. And so there was this idea that yes, the Simpsons movie was very successful. The show was still successful. We will do another one at some point. But the idea was maybe not explicitly said, but it was very heavily implied that the second movie would come after the show had ended. It would kind of be the swan song to the franchise proper. What's interesting though is that doesn't appear to be the case for the sequel here, because the TV show, which is now under the Disney umbrella because that was a Fox property, which is now a Disney property, I believe there's a television contract that renews The Simpsons through 2027, maybe even into 2029. So they have numerous other seasons of the TV show planned to be released as well. So I'm frankly not really sure where this movie is coming from. Honestly, it seems like a genuine passion project because, again, I think that a sequel would serve as a proper way to kind of cap off the whole deal. But if they're not going to, then this might just be another offering for The Simpsons. If you're wanting more Simpsons, more than just the TV show, well, there's a movie coming out. And look, that first Simpsons movie is really fun and funny. I really enjoyed it. And I love The Simpsons. I still watch them to this day. The entire catalog is on Disney Plus, the Disney Plus, and for me, it's very easy to watch. 2, 3, 4, 5 episodes. It's great fun, and yeah, I will absolutely be at the cinema for the Simpsons movie, and yeah, it's also coming out in the summer of 2027, and yeah, who would have thunk it that we're getting another Simpsons movie, but it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with this. But yeah, I'm just happy that the Simpsons are coming back to the big screen, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, I guess I'll see you in 2027 for both the Minecraft movie and for the Simpsons movie. And keeping it with movie news, if you remember back in that 7-hour episode again, I talked about how Paramount was going to make a movie based on the popular video game franchise Call of Duty. So yes, there's going to be a Call of Duty movie, and that project appears to be full steam ahead because there is now a writer and a director attached to the project, and I could not be more thrilled with the pairing. The writer of the movie will be Taylor Sheridan, who is one of the best in the business. He's written some incredible TV and some incredible movies, and he's also a great director as well, having worked in both mediums, but he will be writing the project, and then Peter Berg will be directing the project, and he himself is also a great writer and director in his own right. And these two people coming together to work on the Call of Duty movie is fantastic, because if you remember in that 7-hour episode, or even if you haven't listened to it, Call of Duty is a video game property. Yes, I understand it's very bombastic, very in your face. It's a sugar high type experience where you drop in, do some action, get out, rinse, repeat, so on and so forth. But if you treat it seriously, if you treat the material seriously, there is genuine good storytelling to be had here. Some of those Call of Duty games are going on 20 years of age. The original Modern Warfare trilogy, the original Black Ops, we're talking 10, 15, 20 years worth of those things being available for us to play. And I can still remember their stories. I can still remember characters and set pieces because the writing in the games and how they were portrayed to the players and what they made you feel as the player wasn't just a mindless action romp. There was genuine narrative in those games. And yes, it was surrounded by this wonderful coating of fun gunplay and gameplay and cool explosions and whatnot. But there is like genuine cool storytelling that you can do in a Call of Duty type environment, and to bring that sense of creative responsibility to the movie, I think is huge. And Taylor Sheridan, he's one of the best to do it right now. I mean, just looking at some of his projects, just from a writer perspective, he wrote Sicario, an incredible film. Hell or High Water, one of my personal favorites. Wind River, a very, very heavy drama that I don't think I can ever watch it again because it kind of made me feel sick to my stomach, but it's incredibly well made. He also wrote Sicario 2, Day of the Soldado. He wrote Without Remorse. I did not see that. He also wrote Those Who Wish Me Dead. I did see that. And so in terms of his writing abilities from a movie perspective, he's doing amazing things. And then, of course, you look to television where, his bread is really buttered here. Of course, he wrote, directed, created the whole thing regarding Yellowstone, which is one of the best TV series around. I'm part of the 1% of the population who has never seen Yellowstone, but I know friends who really like that series, and so, go crazy. He also worked on the spin-off series for Yellowstone, such as 1883, 1923, and then he's written a bunch of other stuff, such as Mayor of Kingstown, which I've seen. That thing is phenomenal as well, a very hard-hitting drama. Tulsa King, Lawman, Lioness, Landman. I mean, this guy is very much in the business of writing prestige television and telling incredible stories, whether it's on the small screen via a streaming series or television, or on the big screen via movies. I mean, this guy is one of the best to do it. Then you look at Peter Berg, and he's an incredible director. He's directed things such as The Rundown, Battleship, which it's kind of a guilty pleasure for me. But you look more towards his military type stuff, like Lone Survivor. I mean, like, my gosh, probably one of the best war films ever. Then you look at just his dramas, Patriots Day, which has to do with the bombing of the Boston Marathon, Deepwater Horizon, which has to do with that oil rig explosion, Mile 22, which is something that I really appreciate. It's kind of a sleeper hit for me as well. But Peter Berg has incredible sensibilities when it comes to being behind the camera. He's able to just craft these really intimate and intricate stories, and when action is required, such as in Lone Survivor, in Deepwater and Patriots Day and so on and so forth, he really does kind of just bring you into the whole thing. And so you bring, in my opinion, an A-list writer and Taylor Sheridan and an A-list director, Peter Berg, to work on this Call of Duty movie. What's not to like? Where could you go wrong? You have the writer of Yellowstone and the director of Lone Survivor working together on a Call of Duty movie. Take my money. Take it. In fact, take it twice. Like, I was already in. Now I'm even more in. Like, this is phenomenal. This is truly, truly phenomenal. Like, the idea that they are going to treat the Call of Duty franchise with the reverence that I think it deserves is beautiful. And if you lay a strong enough foundation with this first film where you actually establish real characters, real motivations, real stakes, you could genuinely have an incredibly well-made, well-produced, well-thought-of series of films that could carry on for 5, 10, 15 years, who knows? Sky's the limit. But to announce that these two guys are going to be working together, this to me signifies that this project is real, it's legit, and they're taking it seriously. This is not just some in-your-face popcorn flick. This is not something that you'll just find in a DVD bin a few years later. This is going to have an era of prestige to it, or an aura of prestige to it. And so this to me is like the best news that could have possibly been, come out after the announcement. Like, I'm already in on this thing, and oh, baby. It's just great to see that other creators are in on this too. And so, yeah, the Call of Duty movie. No release date, no cast, no setting, no details. But again, the creative minds behind this thing are some of the best to do it, in my opinion. And so I can't wait. I can't wait. Oh, man, what a good day to be a fan of this franchise. And what a good day to just be a fan of movies as well, knowing that some of the best are going to be working on this. So, yeah, I can't wait, baby. Let's go. All right, kids, let's get out of the world of movies and enter the world of sports. A lot has been happening with my Minnesota team, so let's just dive in, and let's begin with the Timberwolves. At the time of this recording on November 9th, the Timberwolves last beat the Utah Jazz. They freaking put a whooping on them, beat them 137-97, and they played on an interesting court. They played on a kind of neon green court at Target Center. And I'm not really sure why they did that, but you know what? Maybe I'm in the minority, but I really liked it. I thought it was cool. I liked the design. I liked the alternate look to just your standard, basketball court. I thought that the color popped. I thought that it made other things around the court pop, and I liked the details in it as well. I hope it stays. I really do. People are making fun of it, saying it's too bright. It looks like Mountain Dew and looks like a green screen and whatever, but I don't know. Just for me, I thought it was dope. I liked it. I wish I could have gone to this game and seen the court. So hopefully it stays, and it's good to see my Wolves winning. So yeah, Wolves back. But yeah, what are your thoughts on the court? Comment down below and let me know. And yeah, just go Wolves, baby. And keeping it with sports, kids, let's talk about this. The Duke of Minnesota is back. JJ McCarthy is back, kids. And yeah, wow. Okay, here we go, baby. The season can recommence. Thank you, Sam Darnold, for your service. Everyone from the Midwest appreciates what you did for the team, especially since you yourself are from the Midwest, being a North Dakota boy and now coming over to the Vikings to play. So thank you for your service. We do appreciate you, but, all things got to come to an end at some point. But now J.J. McCarthy is back. The Duke of Minnesota is back, kids. And he came back in a big, bad way. The Minnesota Vikings took care of the Motor City Kitties, beating Detroit 27-24. And look, despite me being a huge Vikings fan, I'll just say right now, we had no business beating Detroit. We had no business playing as well as we did. And same goes for McCarthy. Like, you got to remember, McCarthy was injured, going into this game. And Detroit has been a feisty team. Like, they have a good offense, good defense, the whole deal. They're a real threat. And J.J. McCarthy, even before he was injured, kind of had, depending on who you ask, an interesting, NFL career thus far. I think that's putting it politely. Then he gets hurt again early in the season, comes back now, and we're all kind of wondering, like, are we going to play it safe? Is he going to play it safe? Because you don't want him to get injured again because he's the franchise QB. He's supposed to be here for years. What are we going to do? He goes out there and just starts slinging it. And we were huge underdogs in this game. I believe Detroit was like 8.5 point favorites. And yeah, for us to beat Detroit was huge because it's also a division game as well. So yeah, it was great to see J.J. McCarthy return. Great to see us get a win as the underdogs. And yeah, surely that kind of spunk and energy and all that jazz can persist going forward, right? Right? Well, no, not so much, because just 1 week later, today, at the time of this recording, which is November 9th, after I got done going to church, I linked up with a friend of mine, and we watched the Vikings play the Baltimore Ravens. The Minnesota Vikings took on the Baltimore Ravens, and we lost. We lost at home to the Ravens, 27-19. And yeah, we can defeat a lion, but we cannot defeat a raven. And boy, this was interesting. And much like J.J. McCarthy, their QB Lamar Jackson was coming off an injury as well. He himself had a little more time to kind of rest and recuperate. He did come back, and I believe the Ravens beat the Miami Dolphins. I think that's when they came back. But yeah, hosting the Raisins at U.S. Bank Stadium, seeing what could happen. I thought we might take it because their offense has been kind of so-so, their defense has been kind of so-so, but really what did us in from a Vikings fan perspective is, frankly, the Vikings. We ourselves kind of shot ourselves in the foot here. We turned over the ball too many times. We had too many penalties. It was just a mess. And J.J. McCarthy, as much as I love you, he sailed the ball over a lot of his wide receivers there. He was throwing balls either too high, too low, too far, too short. He wasn't a real accurate passer. And so, yeah, to see Lamar Jackson lead as the QB that he is, one of the best to ever do it, in my opinion, to lead his team, the Raisins, to beat the Vikings, good for them because they've had a real awkward start to the year as well. I believe now they're 4-5, but again, losing their starting QB like that really did hurt them. So look, I like Lamar Jackson, but I wanted my team to win, and we totally could have won this game. We totally could have beat the Raisins. And yeah, so look, it was a fun day. Like I said, I went to church, was with a friend for this game, and it was a lot of fun. We laughed and had a good time. But man, this was some awkward football. Awkward football, excuse me. And yeah, JJ McCarthy is still my guy. I believe that fully, as I've said many times on this podcast. I was there at US Bank Stadium when he was drafted. I was there. I drank the purple Kool-Aid. I was ready, and I'm still ready for him. I still think he has what it takes. He's shown a lot of cool and interesting things, but he's just frankly inconsistent when it comes to that skill level. So I think once he can get more confident and once he can get his feet under him, he will be a true, genuine threat in the NFL. But yeah, to lose at home to the Baltimore Ravens, not good, Chief, not good. But yeah, sky's the limit. But I'm glad to see JJ back and glad to see Lamar back as well. Just wish the outcome of this game could have gone a little differently. All right, kids, let's now move on to the world of baseball. The regular season for baseball has ended for the year 2025, and it ended in pretty spectacular fashion, in my opinion. The Toronto Blue Jays lost to the Dodgers, the Doyers, as it was, in the World Series. But that game of the World Series to decide it all was phenomenal. First of all, it went to Game 7, which is crazy. The stakes can't get higher for that. And I would have loved to have seen Toronto win, but for that game to have gone back and forth, there was never a dull moment. I mean, the thing went to extra innings, which already is crazy, and somewhere in there, both teams had their bases loaded at one point, which was crazy. They were both within striking distance to win everything. And then at one point, both benches got cleared, and what would have been a huge brawl. It was awesome. Everything you want in a game of baseball was wrapped up in Game 7 of the World Series. Just one of the best games I've seen in a long, long time. But now that the regular season has ended, we all look back towards our respective teams and see what they will do in the offseason leading into spring training and so on and so forth. And my Minnesota Twins, my first love when it comes to sports, my first love with baseball, they've done a lot of interesting things recently. Of course, they had their fire sale with their roster at the trade deadline where they cut pretty much literally half of all their starting players, and in my opinion, a lot was lost in that, and I'm not happy about it. I think that from a talent perspective, that's up for debate. Whether or not some people should have continued in this organization and whatnot. But for me, the real thing is that I'm a big believer of culture building when it comes to sports teams, and I think that culture is worth 40 to 50% when it comes to building a successful team. Perhaps I'm overvaluing that trait, and that might be why I'm not a coach or a manager, respectively, for any organization anywhere. But we'll see there. But for me, losing a lot of the players that we lost, what was a big hit just from a fan perspective, because I love the Twins, and I get it. We're not a great team, especially this year, and we had a bad record and whatnot. But I love this team, and I loved going to the games and watching them on TV, and to see so many of the players that I enjoy just get completely, separated from the team. It was tough. It was rough to have them all fall in one big swoop like that. And now that the season is over, really no one is safe, because in addition to us needing to replace pitchers, catchers, you name it, pieces of the managerial staff as well are going to need to be replaced. And one position has been changed since the offseason began. The Twins have a new head manager, and his name is Derek Shelton, and he's kind of an interesting guy. He's had quite a long tenure inside of baseball, so he's a real lifer when it comes to the sports, and he's been with numerous teams, both as a player and as a coach and as a manager. And he actually formerly had some history with the Minnesota Twins when he was a coach. At one point, let's see, Derek Shelton, I'm reading this over the internet as it was, he was our bench coach for the 2018 into 2019 season, so he has some familiarity with the organization, and he then came back from the bench coach position now into the managerial position. But before he was the manager of the Twins, he was formerly the manager of the Pittsburgh Pirates from 2020 to 2025, and just to speak frankly and honestly, he did not do good as the manager. The Pittsburgh Pirates are not a great organization, and they have not been for several years. And so this is not us getting some Gucci manager to lead the Twins. This is, frankly, in my opinion, kind of a run-of-the-mill C minus C plus addition to the team. No discredit to the Twins or to Mr. Shelton. If anyone from respective party is listening, and I know that they are, please come on the podcast and let's talk about it. But yeah, look, I like the hire. I do. I really do, actually. But he did not blow me away. I think there were other better candidates to pursue and whatnot. But when this news came across my feed, I went, okay, sure, that makes sense. Because, and I'm speaking on this very romantically, because how can you not be romantic about baseball? But you come off the Pittsburgh Pirates, which are arguably just as good, if not worse, than the Twins, and then you attach that manager to a different team now. For me, there is this kind of sense of a groundswell where it's like, look, you're coming from one bad team going into another bad team, frankly. I think everyone is kind of expecting similar-ish results. For myself, I get the sense that they're going to be on an upswing. I get the sense that it's like you're taking the young, scrappy team and just doing the best you can, and they're going to get great success. I have this feeling that it can't be any worse. I mean, I have this feeling. I don't know how to really articulate it, but I truly feel that coming off of one bad team and going to another, I get the sense that it's not like they're going to run the same playbook back again. Like the playbook that was ran from 2020 to 2025 in Pittsburgh will not be the same playbook that goes forward for perhaps the next 5 years with the Twins. Maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? There's a lot of disorganization inside of, well, frankly, this organization of baseball. But I like the addition of him as a coach or as a manager, excuse me. And, when he gave his presser, announcing that he's going to be doing this and taking on this role, a lot of it was very cookie cutter. He's talking about wanting to teach the fundamentals, and instilling a good sense of community and the whole deal. I mean, he gave the standard, Walmart special when it came to a lot of the answers, regarding the questions. And that's what you should do. It's your first day. It's your first day in front of the media. Like, you should give, the simple answers of, like, the only reason I'm here is because I love baseball. And it's like, well, great. He loves baseball. Clearly he gets it. Like, you're not expecting him to, give these poetic answers and whatnot. But there were a few times I think he did open up very honestly, and he was a bit transparent in his mindset. He talked about leaving the Pirates and how that hurt him. I think he had a real attachment to his team, but he understood that there needed to be a change with that organization. Likewise, he understands that there needs to be a change inside of this organization. And so I think he understands the rules of the game. I think he understands that, yes, the Twins are not the cream of the crop. We're not even really middle of the pack, I understand. But some things needed to happen. And that's why you put the team up for sale. That's why you cut a lot of your roster. That's why you changed the coaching staff and the managers and whatnot. Like, I think that this is a change that's going to lead to good things. Now, of course, would I have liked someone different? Yes. He was not my first choice, nor was he really even in my top 5, I'll say. But again, choosing to look at this with a glass half full perspective, I like how he spoke. I like what he had to say. He also has some radio experience as well. So, I mean, he knows how to work on camera and behind a mic. And he does have manager experience inside of the MLB. It's not like he's coming fresh off the bench here. So I do think he could offer some kind of direction with the Twins. And like I said, and I mean this sincerely and both as a joke, it can't possibly get any worse. I mean, it just can't. And for me, at the end of the day, baseball is incredibly fun. There's a reason it's my favorite sport ever. I love everything about it, the details, the minutia, all the analytics, all that stuff. And so just to have new, fresh blood in the organization, for me is just great. I love to see things continuing and pushing forward, even if they're taking different directions than I would have. But again, I'm not a coach, I'm not a manager, not even a player. So take my opinion with a huge grain of salt. But yeah, Derek Shelton, former Pittsburgh Pirates manager, is now the manager of the Minnesota Twins, the Twinkies, as it were. And so yeah, I'm optimistic. Dang it, and I think you should be too. So yeah, let's go have ourselves a good off season, a good spring training, and look forward to the next season. And yeah, sky's the limit. All right, kids, the last bit of sports that I want to talk about, the last bit of Minnesota sports that I want to cover is now going to shift to the ice, to the NHL, because I got to see my first ever NHL game live in person. I went to my first ever Minnesota Wild hockey game, and I got to see the Wild play the Utah Mammoth, and this was an incredible experience. The Utah Mammoth are a very new team. They were founded in 2024, and so they are fresh off the bench and fresh on the ice. And holy guacamole, can these guys play? Like they are really, really good. And I don't know if it's that the Utah Mammoth are really good or if the Minnesota Wild are kind of really bad. I think it's more a mix of the both. I think both are true at the same time. And they kind of, even each other out because the Wild did lose this game. Not for lack of trying. We were fighting from the back the whole way through, and we fought hard, and it was a great game, a great experience. But like the Utah Mammoth, at one point, they scored 3 goals inside of like the first 10 minutes. They definitely had 3 goals inside of the first period, and like some of them, the people around me were like, "What the heck? Like what's going on? Like where's the review? Where's the ref on this one?" But nope, they got in. But yeah, so with the Utah Mammoth being a new team, everyone wants to see what they're like and what they're going to do. So for me, going to this Wild game, the arena was freaking packed. I mean, just filled to the brim with fans, and it was nuts. The energy in that room, the TV just doesn't do it justice. You have to be there to actually see it, to experience it. I've been to a handful of hockey games over the course of my lifetime. I've been to college level games. I've seen the North Dakota Fighting Sioux, now the Fighting Hawks, but for me, they're the Sioux. I saw them plenty of times in my youth, but I've never been to an NHL game. But to get to see the NHL players play and to get to experience that high level of play, with my own 2 eyes, to get to see it live, it's nuts. I mean, to hear everything, to hear the scrape of the skates on the ice, to hear the slap shots ringing out, to hear the puck bouncing everywhere, to hear people crashing into the boards as they're getting checked, and then to hear the air horn go off when your team scores. Like you feel that thing in your chest, and like I was just in it, man. Like I felt like this is an arena, this is a coliseum. Like the sights and the sounds were just overwhelming. I was in. Like I got thrown into the deep end when it comes to hockey, and like I swam, baby, and it was great. And like I'm a new fan to hockey. I really am. Like I'm still learning the rules. I'm still learning the team names, the player names, even on the Minnesota Wild. Like I don't know everyone, but like I'm getting there. But like man, just to be able to say I got to see the Wild play and I got to see the Utah Mammoth play, like it was nuts. Of course, I would have loved if my team would have won. If we would have, whooped them as opposed to them whooping us. But like, no, it was a freaking phenomenal experience. And at one point, like, during an intermission and whatnot between the periods, at the XL Energy Center, or now I guess Grand Casino, but again for me the XL, they played Purple Rain over the speakers, and like shout out to Prince, shout out to the Minnesota music scene. Like, oh baby, hearing that song over those speakers inside that arena, that was crazy in of itself. Like, so that was just awesome. Just what a fun time. What a really, really fun time. I really enjoyed the energy of that room. And yeah, watching hockey is one thing. Watching it on TV is fun. It's entertaining, and you can get roped into it, because that's how I got into the sport. Like I watched the Wild one day at a bar, and I was like, oh, this is it. I like this. I get it. But like seeing it live, totally different experience. Like if watching it on TV is 80%, like seeing it live at a real game, that's like 150%, like just nuts. And so if you have the opportunity in your lifetime to go see a hockey game live, an NHL game live. Do yourself a favor because it was a lot of fun, and I'm hoping to get back out there to another game at some point because I was just so in, baby. I could have lived in that arena for days, and look, the Wild, they're not doing as good as I was hoping they would be, but like, man, just what a fun day, what a fun time, and so yeah, I'm a fan, baby. I'm here for my Minnesota teams, Vikings, Twins, Wild, Lynx, Timberwolves, you name it. I'm here, man. So yeah, let's just get that energy going. But yeah, definitely go to a hockey game at some point because it's gonna be better than you expect. So yeah, just thanks for a fun time, Wild, and I hope to get back to you guys sometime later in the season. Kids, at the time of this recording, it is November 9th. It is a Sunday morning, and I just wanted to update you guys on something that I did. And that is for this Sunday morning, I went to church, and if you've listened to the podcast recently, or even if you haven't, I'm a Christian, and I'm also a conservative, and so I don't want to hide those two parts of my identity from any portion of this podcast. And just speaking freely about my walk with Christianity, I'm a believer. I do believe in Christ, and I tried to read my Bible, and pray often. But where I really have pitfalls, where I really struggle, is honestly my church attendance, and that's due to several reasons. Sometimes it's as simple as I happen to work a Sunday, meaning I can't go Sunday morning. And then other times it's a little more, rooted in the sense that there have been times I've gone to church and I've had bad experiences, and that's kind of made me cold to going to church. And that in and of itself is because of several reasons. It can be, I don't necessarily feel comfortable amongst the congregation, or perhaps the sermon that's being preached, isn't hitting me in a way that I wanted it to, so I can kind of leave feeling unfulfilled, or perhaps, the worship music just isn't hitting with me. It's also not making me feel certain things. And, with that, when I have left church feeling unfulfilled, it really kind of sticks with me. And I really think about it, and I wonder, why don't I feel a certain way? Why didn't this impact me? Is that a referendum on the church? Is that a referendum on me? And so honestly, again, just speaking honestly and forthright, a lot of the times what I've done over the last couple of months is that rather than go out and have fellowship with others in a congregation, what I'll do is I will regulate my own type of church service, using air quotes on church service, and that I will seek out previous sermons from pastors that I really enjoy, such as David Platt or Billy Graham, and I will look through their catalog and I will try to find, specific topics that they've speaked on that I feel are applicable to me that given Sunday, and so that way I can feel a greater sense of again fulfillment in what I'm going to be digesting in terms of scripture. But I understand that having that kind of approach to it isn't always correct. There's absolutely, I think, a time and a place for doing that. Again, like I said, when work gets in the way, sometimes having a sermon in the back pocket via my phone, it is nice, but I understand that shouldn't be the norm for my life. And so I made a conscious effort to go to church this morning. And I'm not speaking on this because I want thank yous and praise and all that. I just want to give an honest opinion on someone who is, I'm trying to return to the church. I'm trying to make that more a part of my weekly life. And this is just a step in that direction. And, just also as well, like when football season rolls around specifically, church takes a back seat for me, even more so because
Football usually falls on Sunday. There's always a game to watch, and even if my team, like the Vikings, isn't playing, I'm usually watching a game to keep up with fantasy football, so it's like football can become all consuming and everything else can take a back seat. And I know that that's not right, but like, again, I'm just saying I got up today and I was like, before the game starts, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try, and I did, and it it felt good. It felt good to go, and you know the sermon that was preached, I thought was really well done. I thought that it wove in scripture, pretty well as well. But what was interesting, I think one of the kind of the core central themes that was talked about was how our sense of eternal life begins from the moment we're born. Because we think about eternal life beginning after someone passes, after someone dies and they leave the earth. We think that, because that's what we're taught. If when you die on earth, you will join Christ in heaven in eternity. That is when salvation begins. But this pastor talked about how eternal life begins from the moment we take our first breath on earth, because we're going to continuously live forever. It's just not always going to be on earth. If you're a believer in Christ, you spend a portion of your life on earth in the physical, and then after you die, your life continues on in salvation, with the Father. But then even if you're not a believer in Christ, there is a sense of life that still exists beyond earth. You go to hell, you inherit damnation, and that is eternal suffering. That's eternal separation from Christ. And so he presented the dichotomy about how we're always going to continuously be living, but one is in salvation and the other is again in hell when you're separated from Christ. And I found that to be interesting. I found that to be thought provoking, and that's honestly what I really like to get out of my sermons, is that I like thought provoking things that can make me think, both while I'm in attendance in the church and also on my drive back. As I'm leaving the church, I want to be thinking about what was said, and I'm doing that right now. Again, so much so that as I was driving back, I thought I should make this a part of the podcast. I should include this little bit about this. And look, with this podcast as well, I want this to be both a place of entertainment and also education, And so when I'm not talking about movies or music or TV or whatever, when I'm actually talking about something that like is real, and like that actually matters, I want it to be a genuine part of this. And so, if anyone out there is who's listening is like myself and is curious about faith or is curious about church and is also nervous about faith and is nervous about going to the church, you just got to take the first step. And I'm going to be honest, just because I went this Sunday doesn't mean I'll go the next. Like I had a good experience, but it doesn't mean I'm ready to just dive back in. I'm just being honest. And so, if you go to church and you find yourself having, an okay experience, I hope it doesn't deter you. I am going to try to, again, make my church attendance more regular and all that. But, please just take the first step. Just give it a chance, give it a try, and you'll see what happens, and even if you do end up having a bad experience, say the service isn't hitting the way you wanted it to, you're still making a conscious effort to go out, to give a portion of your time, of your day, to be a part of fellowship. And I think that that's really important, and then you should take private moments, throughout your day and your week to read on your own, to pray on your own. But having that sense of community is very important. And I was reminded of that today. And I just wanted to share what that meant for me, and hopefully what it can mean for you as well, again, for those who might find themselves also struggling with knowing where to go to church, when to go to church, how to go to church. Just try, just try it. And then, again, if it doesn't work this time, try again next week, or maybe try again next month, just try. It's important to try. And, part of the scripture that was read today at the service came from Psalm 73, beginning with verse 23. And so I'm going to read that now. Again, starting in Psalm 73, beginning with verse 23. Nevertheless, I am continually with you. You hold my right hand. You guide me with your counsel, and afterward you will receive me to glory. Whom have I in heaven but you? And there is nothing on earth that I desire besides you. My flesh and my heart may fail, but God is my strength of my heart and my portion forever. For behold, those who are far from you shall perish. You put an end to everyone who is unfaithful to you. But for me it is good to be near God. I have made the Lord God my refuge, that I may tell of all your works. And that was just the closing bit of scripture that they said over the last couple of worship songs. And I don't know, just for some reason that just stood out to me, and I wanted to share that as well. And I encourage you to go read that yourself, and then to not only read just those verses, but to read the whole psalm in its full context. But yeah, I had a good experience with church this Sunday, and it's been a while since I've had a good experience, to be honest. But I hope that this leads to a good trend, and I hope that, again, for those out there who are in a similar situation as myself, that you give church a chance, that you go, and you feel fulfilled, again, in every facet, and even if you don't, I hope that it instills a sense of importance into you, that this is worth trying. And so, again, at the end of the day, just try, give it a chance, and your life will improve the more you try to pursue a relationship with God. And I just encourage everyone in their own personal walks to keep up that portion of their life. So yeah, please go to church, read scripture, pray, just seek the Lord, and your life will get better. All right, thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the show.
All right, kids, the last thing that I want to talk to you about is that I recently began a new lifelong journey for myself, and this is something that I truly intend to take the rest of my life. So whether or not I live another 50 years, 100 years, 10 years, what? I'm playing. But no, in all seriousness, this is something that I intend to do over the course of my life, and that is that I'm going to try to eat breakfast in all 50 states of the U.S. And so from California to Florida, with Alaska and Hawaii mixed in there as well, all 50 states, I'm going to try to eat breakfast in them. And I'm going to use this podcast as a way to catalog my journey. And I began this journey on November 1st with North Dakota. I had breakfast at a local Denny's, and I had pancakes with chocolate chips and bananas and some eggs and bacon and hash browns on the side. And it was great. It was great. And so just as how I'm going to do this over the course of my life, just for as long as I live, for as long as I do this podcast as well, I'm going to catalog my breakfast journey with pictures and information and so on and so forth. And it's just a fun thing that I saw. The idea came from TikTok, believe it or not. I saw a guy talking about this on TikTok, and I thought that's a great idea because I love breakfast. I love breakfast foods. I don't always eat breakfast, but man, I love pancakes. I love waffles. I love bacon and eggs, and oh baby, I love cereal. Cereal is my favorite food, like in the whole wide world. And so yeah, this should be a fun journey around one of my favorite times and varieties to eat food at. But I don't know how serious I'm going to take this because, like, one thing I put on, one kind of guardrail I put on is that I'm now going to start the journey on November 1st. So I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to use the podcast as a way to catalog this adventure for myself. And so even though I've been to places like Colorado and Florida, and most recently North Carolina, where I absolutely did have a meal in the morning that was of the breakfast variety. I'm not going to count them because, again, I did not catalog them on this journey. And so that gives me an excuse to travel back to those states to try to, eat breakfast in them again. But beyond that, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what other kind of rules I'm going to put on this. Like, do I have to have breakfast food specifically? So, like, does it have to be bacon and eggs and hash browns and whatnot, in the morning, or can I eat anything in the morning, or can I just, or could I eat breakfast food at night, So say I had like bacon and eggs at like 9 p.m. in like Wisconsin, like, does that count? Like, I'm not fully sure. I'm not sure how serious I'll take it, but like, for me, I do want there to be a sense of something special in each location. Like, I feel I should try to go out to an actual like diner, like an IHOP or a Denny's in each state, and try to actually eat breakfast food, preferably in the morning, but we'll see. But like, I'm not gonna like eat a granola bar at a truck stop in like Mississippi and say that counts. Like, no, I'm gonna put a little more ownership on this whole deal. So yeah, I have begun the great breakfast journey of my lifetime, and I'm going to use the podcast to keep a record and to keep y'all updated for whoever cares what I'm doing with my life. So yeah, but yeah, one state down, 49 to go. And yeah, to me, this sounds like a delicious problem to tackle. So I can't wait. But that'll do it for this episode of the Far Out Podcast. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Hope you had a good day. And I hope that your respective sports teams are winning in whatever league they partake in, whether it's basketball, football, hockey, even if you're a Broncos fan, like, I'm playing again. But like, yeah, just again, thanks for continuing to support the podcast. Hope you have a good day and a good night, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye-bye.